welcome back to my fish room. I think this month I'm gonna go around and do another tour. I don't know that we'll do all the tanks again this time, but we'll certainly hit the highlights, and who knows, it may end up being everything. Here we have the 240 gallon Umbi aquarium. Sorry if the water is cloudy, I scrubbed what algae I could to film, but the spawn they had last time, they ended up turning on pretty quickly, or they died off or something. And this time, we're just about a week after they've laid, or maybe a little bit less, and Mom has the babies front and center. They're very upset that I'm here with camera. So once again, not going to put my hand in right next to the parents guarding the babies, even at this size. These are F1 Rio Mags. Their parents are wild. The male's name is Raphael, and the female is Maggie, or Magdalena. Those of you who know about Umbis know that those are San Rafael and the Rio Magdalena are the river and the collection point for a lot of Umbis in the hobby. Here we have the 220 gallon community tank. Not a lot has changed in here at all. These guys all just love to eat, and the archers have started spitting more, which has been fun. Does make the tank hard to clean though on the outside. And pretty much all of the big tanks in the room are on sumps, and then all the small tanks are on air. The tanks on the upper levels of all the racks have sumps under the tank, and the tanks on the lower levels have above tank sumps. Definitely pros and cons to both. Actually, really the only con of an above tank sump is space limitation, and figuring out where to put a sump higher than your tank. Otherwise, I definitely prefer them. They're a lot easier to maintain, and the big thing is that when the power goes out, or if you have to unplug the pump for any reason, all the water doesn't drain. They're a lot more resilient. Going down here, there have been several new additions to the fish room this month, actually. I went most of 2020 with hardly getting any fish. So this tank here is a 180 gallon Tropheus tank, and then there are also Neolamprologus pulcher in here, sometimes called the daffodil cichlid. There are more Tropheus Morai Moliro in here now. This tank is a lot of fun, particularly at feeding time. I think a lot of them thought I was going to feed, and then I didn't, and now they're starting to hide, but As with all fish, patience is going to be the name of the game with this one. Looking forward to when these guys are big. Alright, and here is the 600 gallon, 800 gallon system, 600 gallon tank. 10 foot by 4 foot by 2 feet high. Southeast Asian Indo-Pacific monster community. Wow, that is quite a mouthful. Unfortunately, this month we lost the red-tailed giant gourami. Came in one morning and it was dead. I don't know what happened. Water parameters are good. If the water parameters weren't good, I doubt that that would be the first fish to go, given where they come from and the water conditions of their native environment. That was a bummer. It's hard to lose fish, and at least for me, even harder to lose big fish. Especially big fish with a lot of personality. The gourami was fun because he would often serve as sort of a referee whenever there were fights in the tank. He would often swim in and position himself in the middle to shut down aggression for whatever reason. This is the 375 gallon peacock bass tank. These guys continue to grow and get bigger. This guy, see, right here, is having a problem where when he eats, sometimes his mouth will get stuck out. Haven't seen that before on any other fish. So unsure what's going on there. It does tend to pop itself back in eventually. And then the big addition this month is this 14-inch Brachyplatystoma Juruense, excuse me, sometimes called the flash zebra or false tigrinus catfish. Doesn't do a whole lot, mostly likes to hide. Pretty bad at eating for a catfish, but really fun pattern, beautiful big catfish. Will get a lot bigger. I also wanted to get better footage of the Juruense catfish. He's moved back into the hide that I made him. Just such a cool fish. But picky eaters, hard to get them to eat. Especially when you have a bunch of peacock bass in the tank with them. Definitely takes some patience. Have to drop the food right on its head and then turn out all the lights. Well, it's a good day when I'm able to see this much of this fish. This powerhead over here, I think he knocked down, and it just blows directly on him and he loves it. Other than clown loaches, I haven't had a fish that spends so much time on its side. Here we have the 300-gallon cichlid community tank. No big changes in here. This peacock bass continues to grow. Oh, everything in this tank is pretty easy to spook. This is a super red severum, and that is a Pimelotus pictus catfish. And I have seen the comments. Thank you everyone who commented on last month's video. It's been really awesome to see the engagement and interest, and I've seen the comments asking for video on humidity effects and the Datanoid videos. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to do a monthly fish room update, and then maybe about 2 weeks into the month or so I'll do a special video, a topic video. So keep an eye out for that. I think it would just get excessively long if I was doing both topic video and fish room tour mashed up into one, so I figure I might as well split them up. Here are the black bee Sipichromis. And Umbifry continuing to grow. This is the first 2 generations that Raphael and Maggie had. These guys are probably now about ready to sell. At least some of them. And then here's the Argentea cichlid. Blown away by her dorsal fin every time. Here are the Cotopunctatus. Shell dwellers top out at a pretty small size, so I find that they don't grow very quickly. They also reproduce like crazy, which means there's a lot of fish in a small tank, which probably doesn't help. And here are the Multifasciatus. There are some babies in the tank, but I think that they're hiding. I tend to find that with multis, I don't see the really small babies much at all, especially when you have a big community of them in a small tank like this. the parents tend to keep them pretty hidden. Guess who remembered to put food in the shrimp tanks before turning on the camera? So this time we should actually get a pretty decent look at the shrimp if the camera will focus on them, which it may not do. These are orange-eyed blue tigers. These are, I would say, a mixed grade colony at best. I know the one in the frame about right here doesn't have much blue at all, but I do tend to find that they gain a lot more color with size. As where some shrimp like Bloody Marys or high grade Neos will start off with their full color. I tend to find that lower grade shrimp take a while to color up. Here are the blue velvets. This is definitely the colony I've culled the most aggressively. They breed quite true. Here are the mixed grade reds. The females in this group are quite bright. The males are a little bit less consistent. I would describe this group as anywhere between Sakura and painted fire red. There's a fair amount of diversity. The colony doesn't breed particularly true. Everything that comes out is red, but there's a pretty big gamut of color. This is the Bloody Mary tank. These guys breed really true. I've hardly had to cull at all. This is a mix of orange Neos and fancy red tigers in tap water in this tank. Not very many shrimp in here. The orange Neos were actually my first shrimp ever. And the colony did pretty well, but has gotten progressively browner pretty much regardless of how aggressive I am in the cull process. So I went ahead and added the fancy red tigers in here to try to make the tank do some work. These are the green jade shrimp. These are mixed Caridina, all Taiwan bees. Blue bolts, black and red King Kong, blue pandas, and it will not stay focused on them. These are fancy black tigers. These I'm keeping in RO water, buffered RO water. The funny story with this tank is that I thought, well, about 1.5 years ago I got the fancy black shrimp. And about a year went by and I thought I had no more fancy black shrimp in there. So I went ahead and bought some black galaxy shrimp. But when I got home, I looked in I guess closer than I had looked in a while. And there were a bunch of tiny baby little fancy black tigers. And as much as these are being kept in RO, tigers definitely like more TDS than Caridina in my experience. So I had to set up another tank. That we'll go to in a bit. These are the fancy reds. These guys have been really prolific for me. Definitely the favorite. My apologies for the glare on this one, but this is the Black Galaxy tank. Don't know that I've had any breeding in here yet. Really hoping to get some. These are really cool, beautiful shrimp. So I said that about there not being any breeding in here, and then wouldn't you know it, that little black speck on that rock is a baby shrimp. And I see a few more in here. So yeah, there has been some breeding. That's great, that's exciting. I didn't realize that there had been breeding for these. It's been really fun to watch the waru in this tank grow. They're taking on such incredible color as they get bigger. And I think at this point, the catfish and the clown loaches don't really know who's who and what's what. And last but not least, we have another pickup from this month. This is Siniperca Chuatsi, or the Chinese red perch. This is a really awesome big monster predator from China. We'll get a couple of feet long and go in with the dantanoids and arowana when it's bigger. That about wraps it up for this month. Thank you all very much for tuning in. I'm looking forward to starting to cover the topical videos. I think I'm going to start with humidity in the fish room, because that was the most requested topic on the last video. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to leave a comment. I do try to respond to the questions in the comments, and who knows, maybe I'll make a video on it at some point too.